Plant nursery is looking absolutely wonderful, very green, but I've had my eye on this straw flower and I think it might be time to get this out into the garden. That's my job for today. So exciting. Oh, it's absolutely gorgeous down here. So you can see I've got a few empty beds, but this is the one that we're going to plant up today. Now this is a brand new bed. It has never been used before. So normally all we do is feed it, weed it and then plant. However, because it's never been used before, the soil is going to be a bit compacted, especially as it's been left over the winter. So Neil's put the irrigation lines in ready. I'm not too concerned about the soil water in the soil particles. It's the soil air that I'm concerned about. And it is a little bit clay down here. So unusually, I'm actually going to dig this bed over because it's the first time it's ever been used. We need to get some air in the soil particles because the plant's roots need that for good, healthy growth. Right. I thought you might like to see how we're getting on. So I'm not double digging it, and that's where you take out a spit of soil from one end, put that in a wheelbarrow and then dig it twice a spade depth. Not necessary because the Strawflowers roots aren't going to be that long, and also the soil is in pretty good nick. It just needs that air adding to it. And by example, can you see, look how much it's fluffed up since I've started putting the air in by digging it over. So once we've got all the big lumps out, we'll tackle the small lumps and then we'll be ready for planting. I'm just putting the spade down in the soil. That will loosen it and I can just take the weeds out really easily. So those are gone and you can see the soil cracking. So I'll turn it over. Take that out. Oh, and some bulbs. I'll take those back front garden. Put those to one side. Just turn that over and check for any more bulbs. You can just see the soil all fluffing up. Look at all that air going back in. There's some clay bits there. There's a bulb. I'll have that. There's some clay bits just here. So I'm just mixing them in the rest of the soil. There we go, a glass of squash to celebrate the hard work, and doesn't that look so much better? Just a few minutes work and that soil is absolutely perfect for planting. So I'm just going to add some plant food, put the lines back and then lay out my straw flowers in their colours. Trying not to get any fertiliser in my orange squash. We've brought the plants down, so these are the straw flowers, and we've just grouped them in their different colours because I like them to look as beautiful in the garden as they do in the vase. Laying the lines back down nice and tight and nice and straight, and then what we will do is we will plant out 6 across, so one plant either side of each of the irrigation hoses, and then we'll make sure that when we do turn them on the water gets directly where it needs to and keep the plants hydrated. I'm starting out by positioning my plants on the soil surface in their colours. I'm going to wait until they're all laid out before I plant them, then I can adjust my design if I need to. And I just wanted to show you this. So this is one of the straw flowers that we pinched out, and if I twiddle it around you should just be able to see the wound. Barely noticeable now, and we'll end up with more slender stems to go with those. They're quite small flowers, so I don't want chunky stems. And then compare it to this one here, which was in the middle of the tray and I just forgot to pinch it out. So that's no problem. I will just go in with my snips in a second and pinch it out here, and that will soon bush up and catch up with the others.
These are my Strawflowers. They're growing absolutely brilliantly. So it's time now for me to pinch them out. Now you don't have to pinch out your Strawflowers if you don't want to. It's just that I find the flowers are quite small against the stems. The stems are quite thick. So I like to have a more slender stem to be in proportion with the flower. Now it's a good idea to do these quite young because then you won't even see the wound. So what I'm looking for is just a little gap in the stem. I can see one here, and that's where I'll make my cut. So I've got myself a pair of snips. I don't tend to use my fingers when pinching Strawflowers because the foliage is quite fleshy and it can tear, so it's much better to use a pair of sharp snips. Let's come in overhead so that you can see where my snips are, and then I'm just going to cleanly cut that off. And then what will happen, the branching will come from here. And then by the time the foliage grows up, you won't even notice they've been pinched at all. So let's do another one. And you can see here clearly, there are side shoots that are waiting to wake up. But at the moment, the top has got the apical dominance. So it's suppressing the growth of these little side shoots here. So again, I'm going to get my snips and I'm going to go just above where I can see the new shoots appearing. Let me come over the top so you can see, and then I'm just going to snip that out. Probably noticed that the Strawflowers are drinking an awful lot of water at the moment while they're still in the greenhouse. So this will make the watering a lot easier for a while until they grow back. There we go, can you see? Okay, so I've got a good pinch here. If you can't see, if your Strawflowers are a bit smaller than this, like this one here, you can see it's quite difficult to see where to pinch out. And I never advise to pinch out too early because this plant does need its leaves photosynthesis. So you don't want to start pinching them too early. So I can't see clearly where I could pinch this out without damaging the plant. So I will leave it to grow on until it's nice and big, like this one here, and then I can easily see a little gap where I can pinch it out. There we go. Cut them on a slant if you can. I don't think it really matters too much at all. There.
Plants are all laid out and I'm ready to get started, and my goodness me, that was worth the extra effort. That soil is beautiful. So I'm digging a hole slightly deeper than they were in their pots. Here's my plant ready to go in. So the hole is nice and deep because if you put your hand in, you can feel that the soil is cooler. It will be more moist, and also because these are quite big plugs, it will give them that all-important support from the soil. There we go, give that a nice firm in. It will get a proper firming in later when we give it a good water, but look at that, that plant is not going anywhere.
There we go. Everybody has now been planted out and watered and looking absolutely fantastic. Now do please remember that they've still got very small roots. So if you need to, I've got a watering can for any emergencies, and I might stretch some horticultural fleece just over the top. I can literally put some bricks on either end of this bed and just have some fleece for some shade just for the next couple of days, just until they settle in and the very, very hot weather is over. But otherwise I think they're going to be an awful lot happier out here than they were in their trays.
Fast forward, and I think this is actually about 48 hours, and you can see the Strawflowers have settled in beautifully despite the alternating hot sunshine and a stiff breeze. But I am going to show you now how to use Horticultural Fleece as shade cloth. If you've been following for a while, then you will already know all about that, but it doesn't hurt to remind you again. And as the temperatures are set to be 29 degrees by the end of the weekend. I've got my watering can for emergencies left here just in case, for super safety. I don't think it will do them any harm while they get established, just to give them a little bit of extra protection. As luck would have it, this piece of fleece fits perfectly. This isn't new, this is from the Grow Along, the Autumn Jump Starter Grow Along, and we use this fleece to keep the plants warm during the winter, and now we're using it to keep the plants cool. So it's doing double duty. All I'm going to do now is just add some stakes to the edge, just so that the fleece doesn't catch and lift up in the middle. And then I think these straw flowers will be happy as Larry and get established during the hot weather. You can see that both the light and the wind are just blowing straight through it. Oh my goodness, this looks incredible. So these are now chest height, and these are the straw flowers. That is just a vision, isn't it? There we go, and a big step back so you can see what I can see.